2022. Our main headline tonight: Comparative Performance Analysis between Conventional and Islamic Banking in Malaysia. The Malaysian banking industry has advanced significantly over the past few decades, and the government and the Bank Negara Malaysia (BNM) are the organisations that regulate this industry. Currently, the banking sector in Malaysia can be divided into two major categories: conventional banking and Islamic banking. Conventional banks borrow at a low interest rate from depositors and lend at a high interest rate to borrowers. On the contrary, Islamic banks engage in profit-sharing arrangements with both depositors and borrowers.
To make Malaysia a global Islamic centre, Bank Negara Malaysia focuses on the Islamic banking industry. Some previous studies have compared the two banking systems in terms of profitability, efficiency, and liquidity. Therefore, it is crucial to measure the profitability, liquidity, and efficiency of conventional and Islamic banking to make sure they are survive. Next, we will be live with our reporters to know more about these three important elements. Assalamualaikum, Encik IHSAN. Can you explain a little bit about the profitability of Islamic and conventional banking?
Thank you for the nice introduction. Now, I'll be explaining about the difference of profitability between Islamic banking and conventional banking. Profitability is similar to profit, but there is one crucial distinction. Profit is an absolute number, whereas profitability is a relative number. It is a statistic that is used to determine the width of a company's earnings to its size. Ratio methods have been extensively used in a prior research to study profitability. There are two findings that have been found, and one of them is that Islamic banking has more profitability than conventional banking. According to a study conducted by Ramlan and Muhammad Adnan, shows that Islamic banks are more lucrative than conventional banks, with a higher total finance to total asset of ratio for Islamic banks. Ramlan and Adnan also found that return of equity has exerted an impact on conventional bank profitability, whereas return of asset and return of equity have a considerable impact on Islamic bank profitability. To continue, similar findings were discovered in research undertaken by HUSNA in 2002 in comparing the profitability of Islamic and conventional banks that operate inside the Gulf Cooperation Council region. The profitability was assessed using return of equity and return of asset ratios. However, there are also findings that state that Islamic banking and conventional banking have also similar amounts of profitability. This can be shown through a study by ARISYA in 2007. The study concludes that Islamic banks have a higher credit portfolio risk because their asset base is primarily made up of loans and advances, but there is no significant difference in profitability between the two types of banking, and through this, we cannot simply say that Islamic banking is better than conventional banking. That's all from me. Thank you.
Alright, thank you Mr. IHSAN for the explanation just now.
Next, we move to Ms. Arisha to explain further about the efficiency.
Thank you, Sri Pentas, for giving me an opportunity to talk about my expertise regarding efficiency in banking system, as I am concerned in today's topic, which is the difference in Islamic banking system and conventional banking system in terms of efficiency. Let's sing it with me, shall we? According to Trucker, efficiency can be defined as an organization's ability to produce results with the smallest input. In other words, efficiency is the measure of effectiveness that results in the least amount of wasted time, effort, and expertise. Now, let's compare and contrast and see which one is more efficient than the other. 4 studies conducted say that Islamic banking system are better because of its greater stability, higher provision for bad loans, higher profitability ratio, although it is not cost effective, and greater capital and liquidity ratio. On the other hand, 2 studies found that conventional is better in terms of financial system and lack of efficiency from Islamic banking, as they need to follow the Sharia guidelines. As you already hear from the research conducted, you may have guessed of which banking system is better than the other, right? Now, let's move back to Sri Pentas.
Thank you, Ms. Arisha.
Lastly, we will hear about the liquidity from Mr. ZARIFF.
Liquidity is a measurement of available cash and asset owned by the bank that will be used for short-term business and to meet any financial obligation. It is important for both banks to have a good liquidity, as it can affect the performance of each banks, and a good liquidity can ensure a good service can be given to their clients. However, there's a difference between the source of liquidity for both banks. And for Islamic financial institute, interests are not allowed in any business that they do. So financing instrument will be used for as their source of liquidity, and that instrument will be used in conventional banking. Both banks have the same number of risks, but the risks that each bank bears are different, which makes different regulation and different legislation need to be done for each bank to ensure that they did not cross any rules or did not take advantage on their clients.
Alright, thanks to our reporters for having expressed your opinion and explained about the three elements, which are liquidity, efficiency, as well as profitability. Now we can get that in terms of these three elements of both banks, they have a different systems and different ways to disperse their profit to their consumers. However, on the other hand, they have different kinds of risk factors, although the number of risk factors is the same.
Yes, I agree with Amirah. Viewers, we have reached the end of the news for today, and that's all from us for now. I'm FARHAH binti Muhammad FISOL.
And I'm AMERAH HUSNA binti AHMAD ZAIEM. Thanks for staying with MUHAMAD News for today. See you. Assalamualaikum.